Good afternoon, everybody. I made a brief recap on about a 7 minute video on the Jets. My thoughts on the Jets finally breaking the losing streak. Want to talk about the Knicks? First of all, it's very, 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 very early. Only 5 games in the 82, so not going to get too crazy. But early results look promising, especially from the starters. Carl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson look like a hell of a 1-2 punch. I know us many Knick fans didn't want to see DiVincenzo get traded, but so far Carl Anthony Towns looks the part. And then they just took care of business and completely blew the doors off of the Pistons last night, which is what good teams are supposed to do. So kudos to the Knicks. It's very very early. But I like what Anthony Towns is bringing. Starters. I truly believe this. The New York Knicks are as good as anybody, but you got to keep them healthy. You got to keep them healthy. You got to keep OG on the court. You got to keep Hart on the court. Bridges, Anthony Towns, KAT, Brunson. Just got to find a way to keep these guys healthy throughout the season. If these five are healthy and in the prime of their game heading into the postseason, the Knicks are going to make a deep run. But here's the thing: they need to get a little bit more from the bench. I know McBride's a good candidate for sixth man of the year, which is why they felt comfortable trading DiVincenzo. But the bench could use another scorer. I'm hoping maybe Leon Rose figures that out at the trade deadline. I know in a couple of weeks I'll have Precious Achua and back, and then at some point, if even once we get him out of the witness protection program, Mitchell Robinson, as a defensive rebounder, late in the game, to complement Carl Anthony Towns. Bench, I will say the Nick bench is a bit of a question mark right now, especially throughout the course of the long season. I guess starters they're as good as anybody, but we need to keep these guys healthy, and we need to start getting more contributions from the bench. But again, it's only 5 games into the season. You like what you see from Anthony Towns. You like what you see from Bridges for the most part. You like what you see from OG. All these guys, all the starters are contributing double doubles. I mean, they complement each other very well. OG and Bridges are what the perimeter defense as good as anybody. Lockdown. Brunson is a hell of a ball distributor, hell of a shooter. I know he had a bit of a rough go of it against Cleveland the other night, but the team is looking as good as anybody. And again, throughout the early, really, really young season. I know they lost to Boston, but Boston, let's face it, they would have hit shots from Fenway Park that night. Everything was going in. The Cleveland game was tough. It was a close one. They just didn't quite pull it out. They got some kinks to work out, but took care of business against Miami and blew the doors off of Detroit. So, but I think as the season goes on, depth is going to get questioned. So hopefully the Knicks can find a way to, get through the season with their depth. Hopefully, so we got to keep these starters healthy. If all five, I'm confident that they can at least get to the Eastern Conference Finals. If these five guys, OG, Hart, Bridges, Anunoby, and Jalen Brunson, are all healthy and at the top of their game. So, again, it's 5 games, but Carl Anthony Towns looks like a beast. He's played like a beast the last couple of games. He's a big man that can score. He's a big man that can shoot. He's a big man that sets it up for Jalen. Again, it's at the cost of Dante. We understand that, and Julius, but Carl Anthony Towns is a big time scorer. We just hope that the bench gets a little bit deeper with Precious and Mitchell eventually making their way back. The bench could use another scorer, so maybe Leon will look to add at the deadline. We'll see. But all in all, good early signs for the Knicks. And I think if they stay healthy throughout and get ready for and peak in the playoffs, they'll at least get to the conference finals. They look pretty solid, so just got to wait and see what happens.